Hello everybody and welcome to my first mid-year book freakout tag. So every year around this time I always see loads of booktubers do the mid-year book freakout tag. It's a way to just go through all the books you've read so far, think about your goals, think about what you've read so far and just anticipate what's coming next. So yeah, I've started booktube this year, so it's my first time doing it. So without any further ado, let's go. So the first question is, what's the best book you've read so far this year? For me, that is definitely The Infinity Courts by Kemi Dawn Bowman. Bowman's one of my favourite authors. This is her debut into fantasy and I love it. It just, in the same way that her contemporaries hit, this hits me so hard. I love it. I loved the themes, I loved the world, I loved the character. I cannot wait for the rest of the series. I'm possibly a little bit biased just because she is my favourite author and that's why this is my favourite book, but I read it twice already. And it only came out in April, so yeah, best book, absolutely The Infinity Courts. The next one is best sequel, and for that I'm going to have to go with The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. This is the sequel to The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue, which is sort of set in the 1700s and follows two siblings and their friend as they go on their grand tour around Europe and get into sort of shenanigans. In this one you then follow his sister, the sister of the character we followed in the first book, and she's trying to get into medical school. This is such a fantastic book about just female friendship and not judging each other. Like, she's got such a case of I'm not like other girls syndrome and she gets called out on it so much and I absolutely love that. So I really enjoyed this book. It's just as fun as the first book. I loved following Felicity in this one instead of her brother Monty. And I just love the way their characters have progressed and I cannot wait to read the next book in this series, if there is one. A new release that you haven't read yet. Oh, so many. The Box in the Wood by Maureen Johnson has just come out. I really enjoy the Truly Devious series, so I'm very excited to see how that's going to continue, if this is just going to be a standalone sort of sequel or if this is now going to be the start of like a new bit of a series. I don't know, I'm very curious. I know Blood Like Magic has just come out, Ace of Spades, The Lost Apothecary, just so many books have just come out that I cannot wait to get to. What is your most anticipated book for the second half of 2021, so the most anticipated release? I've got a few. I've got As Good as Dead is the third book in the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder book series, which is one of my favourites. I've just finished up the sequel and I'm very excited for the third book. I believe it comes out later this year. Iron Widow by Zhang Jie Zhao. Like a lot of people, I think I found their YouTube channel and therefore I found out about their book Iron Widow, which is sort of like, you know, Pacific Rim meets Chinese history. It sounds bizarre, it sounds really fresh and interesting and I'm really excited for the release of that. The cover is gorgeous. Well, as Descendants of the First by Rennie K. Amayo, that is the sequel to Daughters of Enri, which is just a really great fantasy book that I found last year, set in sort of ancient Nigeria. There's magic, there's sisters, there's great female friendships, and I am very excited to see what Descendants of the First is going to be about. Biggest disappointment has to be Kingdom of Souls, unfortunately. I thought I was going to really enjoy this book and instead I found the main character to be a bit dry. I didn't like her relationship that was going on. I didn't like that we barely saw her friends. I didn't really find the villain to be that interesting. The plot was a bit... I didn't enjoy it. I liked the magic and I liked the sort of dark blood magic that was going on. I loved that aspect of it, but that was kind of about it, so I was really quite disappointed by that one. Next up is biggest surprise, and this one I have to go with Thorn. This was given to me by a friend for Christmas. It wasn't one I picked up by myself, but I absolutely loved it. It's a retelling of an old folktale called The Goose Girl. I'd never heard of it, but I really enjoyed it and it was really fun. I believe the sequel's a sort of companion novel, so it followed a different character but set in the same world after the events of Thorn. So very excited to see that. It was definitely a great book and I highly recommend it. Favourite new author, either debut or new to you, and for that I'm going to have to go with Robin Hobb. I've just started reading the Farseer trilogy this year with Assassin's Apprentice in February and I'm now about halfway through Royal Assassin. I love her writing. I can't believe it's taken me this long to get around to reading some Robin Hobb. I love this series so far. I love Fitz. I love everything that's going on. It's a really interesting setting. I like the magic system they seem to have going on here. I'm really enjoying it and I just love her writing. Next up is your new fictional crush. I don't really fall for book characters. I don't really like get crushes on them, but so this is kind of hard to answer, but I guess I'm gonna have to go with Gil from the Infinity Courts. He is the main love interest in this book, and honestly, yeah, I was right there with Nami. Like, you know, he's moody, but you know, he's got a soft side to him. I always sort of fall for the love interests in a Kevin Don Bowman's books. I see the appeal kind of thing. So yeah, I'd have to go with Gil. Your favourite character? Whew, I have so many because I like them all so much. That's why I read the books. I guess I'm probably going to have to go with Constantine from Sister Song. And I'm also going to throw in Maury the Witch, also from here. I love both those characters. And Constantine of it, especially, he is just such a compelling character to follow, and his arc and his journey and just everything he goes through. I really enjoyed his character, and I loved Maury as well. She's really cool and just so, you know, helpful, but not very afraid to call people out on their bullshit, and yeah, she's just really cool. I really liked this book. The book that made you cry? I don't really cry at books. I think I've cried at a book once, and that was at the Book Thief years ago. But so this one I'm just gonna sort of go for one that pulled a sort of sad emotional reaction, I guess, and that's going to be The Marks Left on Her by Dee Lebowitz. This is a fictionalised memoir, really, I think, of a survivor who, inspired by the Me Too movement. It's about just all the sort of things that she's gone through and how she's survived and the way she's been treated by her family and her boyfriends and her friends, and how she's been taken advantage of or lied to or cheated, and just it's an incredible story about a survivor, and I enjoyed it and it was very good, but it did deal with a lot of heavy themes, and I mean trigger warnings for sexual assault and abuse, physical abuse, self-harming on page, suicide attempt on page, really just about everything I can think of, body horror. A lot goes down in this book, but it's not a sad book, but it did provoke a pretty intense emotional reaction from me just because of the things she goes through and reading about how she deals with all of that. The book that made you happy, on the other hand, is We Free the Stars by Hafsa Faisal. This is the second in the We Hunt the Flame duology, Sands of Ariwa, and I really enjoyed it. I absolutely loved it, but it made me happy because there is an asexual character in here. I didn't know that going in. I was really excited when you got to that paragraph. Like, I was literally grinning and squealing because I am ace myself, and I just love, especially in fantasy, we're getting more and more ace rep, and it just makes me really happy to see on page exactly how I feel about relationships and other people and stuff. And I wasn't expecting it, so when it sort of started to happen, I was like, is this going where I think it's going? And then they got to that paragraph, I was like, yes, it's gone where I think that's gone. So I was just so excited to come across that. I was literally grinning from ear to ear, being like, we've got more rep, we've got more rep, and love it. Most beautiful book that you've bought or have been given? I mean, all of them are really pretty, but I'm gonna have to go with this that I just bought the other day, and that is Ariadne. I mean, just look at that, it's just so pretty. Gold foiling, it's absolutely gorgeous. I can't wait to read this. I almost didn't get a copy of this because I went in when it first got released. I saw it, but I already had a huge pile of books, so I was like, okay, no, I'll come back and get it another day. Went back another day and they'd sold out of it. So then I was like, oh, okay, maybe we're not going to get hardback of this, but then I went in the other day again and they had it, so yes. I think it's designed by Michaela Alcaino, who is one of my favourite designers. She's done a whole bunch of work previously. If you want to see me gash book covers, I did do the Judge a Book Bites book cover tag, and yeah, I'll mention all the artists and show all their work in there, so definitely go check that out if you want to see me talk about book covers. But yeah, definitely the prettiest book that I have bought this year. Then what books do you need to read? That's kind of a hard one to answer. Like, need to read by the end of the year. That's kind of a hard one to answer because I'm a student, so I've barely got any money, so I will buy books and then I will read them. I don't have what a lot of people I think on BookTube have, is just a pile of unread books. Like, if I bought it, I will read it, otherwise I see that as a bit of a waste of money. So I have bought a bunch of books that I am going to get to reading almost immediately because they're sort of next on my TBR. So I need to read them, and I would like to reread the Truth Witch series, having just read Witch Shadow, and I really want to just go back and now reread it all and just then really appreciate Witch Shadow for the stuff like having, if I read it all in one go. I need to go sort out my library card. I was trying to sort it out a couple of years ago, but then lockdown happened and everything was shut, and they've basically only just opened up in like the last couple of months, so because I need to go in and speak to somebody, so I need to go sort that out, and then hopefully I will then be able to get access to a bunch more books and it won't cost me an arm and a leg, which should be great. I have considered starting to read Wheel of Time, because I've heard that's one of those like fantasy books that you should at least try, so I might do that by the end of the year, like read one or two of them, but I'm not sure because a lot of people have said that, like, you know, you don't have to read it, it's not that great, so yeah, I'm sort of torn as to whether or not I need to do that, but I don't think I have any books that I need to read, but I think the anticipated releases I mentioned earlier, plus the books that I have just bought, are probably on my list, and I'm going to do a book haul, I think next week or later this week, so that'll let you know exactly what books I'm talking about. But yeah, I think that's it for the mid-year book freakout tag. I hope you enjoyed my answers. What do you think? What have you read so far this year? What's been your favourite book and your answers to all these questions? Please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to compare what everyone's been reading. I've read 33 books so far, which for me is pretty good. I've got a goal of about 50, I think, for this year, so I'm happy with that. I'm trying to make them, as many of them, new books as I can, as opposed to rereads, so yeah, as I said, I'm a student, there's only so much I can afford, so I thought 50 was perhaps okay, and hopefully with the library being back open I will be able to go and get some more that won't cost me money. So yeah, but anyway, thank you so much for watching. As I said, please leave a comment below, feel free to like this video, it does make me feel better about myself and the fact that I'm doing this, it makes me feel like people are actually watching these. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, I will see you next time.